Alright, what's going on, guys? We've only got a couple weeks left before the launch of Elden Ring Nightreign, and it's coming up quick, especially with the sheer amount of news we've had to cover. It feels like we can't keep up. New things dropping every single day, and it's only going to keep getting busier. Now this week we've gotten more coverage from IGN and their exclusive first looks at Nightreign, but while their videos have been fairly tame and straight to the point, there were things in one of their videos this week that had huge revelations about the final game of Nightreign. Now let me go ahead and give you a bit of a spoiler warning. The things we're going to be covering today could easily be considered spoilers about the final Nightlords. You're not going to actually be seeing them, but if you want to know absolutely nothing going into this, then you may just want to go ahead and go dark until release. Now we've also got quite a bit of other stuff to cover as well, so I'm not going to waste any more time. If you want to stay up to date on all things Elden Ring Nightreign, definitely hit that subscribe button, and now let's get into it. So the week has been going on with more coverage from IGN first, getting exclusive new footage of Elden Ring Nightreign. Now we already covered their video on the game's story earlier this week, however they dropped a new one, taking a look at the changes that happen in Limveld game to game, and how the world resets between runs, and a lot of the random elements you can find going on the different hunts. Now this is a very interesting video, and we are going to talk about some other things you can see in the background of this, some of the new things they revealed here as well. But the biggest takeaway from this video was actually not something they were talking about. Instead, at one point when they're in the roundtable hold, showing what it looks like to select and go on a hunt. Now I'm not going to show it yet, but they showed off the names and icons of all 8 hunts, and it gives you a pretty rough picture of the remaining Nightlords. And again, if you consider this a spoiler, I'll have a timestamp on screen where you can skip ahead to the other things we're going to cover, but here's your warning. Now like I said, the purpose of this was to show off how the game lists the changing elements in Limveld, but as you could very clearly see over there on the left, they had 7 of the hunts listed with the icons of 7 Nightlords. Now it is a bit hard to see, however, we can go into Photoshop and clear things up substantially. Now we can very clearly see the top we know of course is Tricephalos, that being Gladius, Beast of the Night. This was our Nightlord during the network test, the 3-headed dog with a sword on a chain, who could split into 3 separate beings every now and again during the fight. Now he was pretty easy, but as we covered a few videos back, it was announced that they're going to be giving him a pretty big buff in time for the final launch. So expect Gladius to be quite a bit harder on release day. Now the second one there is Gaping Jaw, and this is another Nightlord we'd seen before in a few of the trailers. In the original reveal trailer of Nightreign, we saw a group fighting Gaping Jaw out in the overworld, with Wilder getting snatched up in a grab attack and Iron Eye stunning him with an ult. Now from appearances, Gaping Jaw looks to be a very mutated wyvern with a very big obviously split jaw. We got more looks at this boss in the overview trailer where we actually saw his fight as a Nightlord, with a lot more attacks such as gravity magic and the ability to spit a big pool of poison. This looks like a really cool fight, and now we know that it is the second Nightlord right after Gladius, assuming they go in a straightforward order like we see on screen. The third Nightlord hunt is called Sentient Pest, and we can definitely see something there that looks like a bug, particularly looking like a moth of some kind. You can see that it looks to have arms, if that's what those are, and 2 long wings on top of its head, and then a bunch of legs, I think, there at the bottom. Now like I said, we have not seen this boss yet in any of the trailers or gameplay. However, it might have shown up for a split second in IGN's new video. There's a portion of the video where they're talking about one of the world events where these bugs will spawn out of these blue orbs, and if you continue to kill them, you get to go fight the boss of them. Well, the boss's name was Sentient Pest. Now when the fight starts, they don't actually show it because the storm came in and they had to leave, but you can like barely see it even for a split second. Right there above Raider's head, you can see the outline of wings. Very translucent, but nothing of the actual boss itself. But it seems like this is yet another Nightlord that can invade you outside of its fight, which seems to be a pretty common theme now. We've seen it with several. Libra, Gaping Jaw, now Sentient Pest. I wonder if that's going to be for all of them. Moving on, next on the list we have Augur, which looks to be some sort of ghost or phantom. Now the definition of the word Augur refers to someone who can see the future or foretell omens. That doesn't really give us much in terms of determining what exactly the boss is, and there aren't many details to make out here, but I could see this being some kind of creature similar in nature to the Elden Beast, with all the tails coming off the back like that. But what do you think this one's going to be? I think it looks really cool. Moving on from that though, next on the list is Libra. We've already seen Libra. We've done a full breakdown on Libra. Many of you guys, if you attended the events, got to actually fight him. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to linger on this one. But what is really cool is the description, which says, a goat-headed being who pretends to be a man, said to be able to use a dubious form of alchemy. Counterfeit gold causes loss of sanity, beckoning madness. However, those who foment madness are sure to succumb to the selfsame malady in the end. Very fascinating description there. But again, if you want more details on Libra, go watch the past few videos. Next up on the list is Dark Drift Knight. This is another Nightlord we have seen several times. Now, he was first shown in the promo images upon the reveal of Nightreign, a big centaur with a sword and a missing left arm. But we actually got some gameplay of this fight in the overview trailer, and we can see that this boss specializes in holy magic, summoning pillars of light, and able to do a slam on the ground kind of like Radagon. Now, one thing you'll notice in this final clip is that at some point during the fight, the boss is able to regrow that missing left arm. Now, what exactly does that change? Well, we don't know for sure, but considering the name is Dark Drift Knight and he specializes in holy damage, maybe we see an element change in the second phase. Also, Dark Drift was the name of Uria of Londor's sword in Dark Souls 3. Maybe we got some callbacks going on too. But the final one on the list we can see, the hunt at least, is called Fissure in the Fog. And am I tripping? Or does that look like Seath the Scaleless? I mean, I don't want to jump the gun, but it's pretty close. It's got the same crooked arched over neck, the same ball-shaped chest, the same short arms. The only real difference we see here is the shape of the wings. It's pretty close, almost 1-to-1. But maybe this is some misdirection. Maybe they made it look like Seath on purpose, and it's actually not going to be him. But I mean, something else is it's called Fissure in the Fog. In Dark Souls, we fight Seath down in a crystal fissure. I would be a little disappointed if a Nightlord is a returning boss from the Dark Souls trilogy, considering up to this point they've all been new. But again, I don't want to jump the gun. I just had to point out how similar it looks. But maybe it's not him. Now, fortunately, the 8th Nightlord is missing from this list, so that at least has yet to be revealed. Hopefully they don't accidentally spoil it in the future. But what do you think of the 7 we see here? And what do you think these icons are going to end up being? Now, the actual point of IGN's video was to show off the changes in Limbo and the many world events that take place to shake up your runs. In the network test, we had the Margit invasion, but they show off several others in this video, such as a plague of locust befalls the land, where you'll be invaded by these bugs and explosions will happen that can steal your levels. You can gain them back by defeating a boss at the end of this called the Sentient Pest, with a fight that we didn't get to see. There's also a tornado that can spawn in the world, and if you travel to the location that it sits above, you'll fight off against AI invader Nightfarers, versions of the players and the heroes that are these blue corrupted forms, called Night Assassins. Now, they didn't describe exactly what rewards you get from completing this, so we'll have to wait until the final game to see if it's anything different than just a standard boss reward. The biggest change to the map, though, is the canyon or the volcano called Shifting Earth, where a gigantic chunk of the map will be transformed into a big magma biome. Now, according to IGN, the enemies and bosses in this location are very tough, and they wouldn't recommend trying it until at least the second night. But the risk-reward factor is definitely there, as the loot gained in this area is substantial, and the end reward for clearing it out is major, as it will give you the ability to fully upgrade one of your weapons. And if you guys played the network test and managed to get a gold weapon, at least in the fight against Gladius, this was almost a guaranteed victory. However, the escape out of the cavern seems to be pretty difficult, as you have to use many different Spectral Hawk platforms in order to make it back to the top. And this looks really cool. This is the kind of thing I like to see in a game like Nightreign. It really needs these random constant risk reward factors to really shake things up game to game. So I'm happy that they're doing this to the level that they are. There are still others that we haven't seen gameplay of yet, such as the Swamp of Scarlet Rot, the Frenzied Flame areas, the meteor that crashes and creates a crater, and I'm sure there'll be a few more surprises as well. But that is pretty much everything we got over the last few days. IGN seemed to reveal a lot more than they planned on. Definitely a lot more than just the scope of the video they put out. But what do you make of those Nightlords? What are some other bosses you hope to see make a return? And how are we feeling about the world events that will shake up your runs? But with all that though, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe if you're new around here. And I will catch you in the next one.